Hello everyone, today we talk about Chinese government, the reality of the Chinese government's oppression of the people. As a nation of 1.4 billion people, China has achieved remarkable success in economic, technology, and global influence. However, behind those accomplishments lies a stark reality: the Chinese government's oppression of its citizens, from stringent censorship to mass surveillance, from the persecution of political dissidents to the systematic marginalization of ethnic minority. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, employ a range of policy and tactics to curtail basic freedom and strip away individuals' rights. This oppression not only impacts personal lives, but also poses a profound threat to the freedom and development of the society as a whole. Today, we examine the fact of the Chinese government's oppression of its people, shedding light on its mechanism and consequences. Suppression of free speech. One of the most glaring forms of expression is the Chinese government's restriction of free speech. The internet censorship system, commonly known as the Great Firewall, blocked numerous foreign websites and information sources, namely citizens' access to diverse perspectives. Social media platforms like WeChat and Weibo have heavily monitored, with the sensitive keyword and topic automatically filtered. Users who post undesirable content may face warning, account suspension, or even detention. According to Freedom House, China ranks last globally in internet freedom. Moreover, traditional media is entirely state-controlled, and the news reporting must align with the party's propaganda directives. Journalists and bloggers who expose corruption or criticize the government are frequently arrested. For instance, in the 2020 citizen journalist Zhang Zhan was sentenced to 4 years in prison for reporting on the early stage of the COVID-19 outbreak in Wuhan. Such suppressions not only stifle public discourse, but also instill fear among citizens when expressing their opinion. Mass surveillance and erosion of privacy. The Chinese government subjects its citizens to comprehensive surveillance further erode their freedoms. The nationwide Skyline project has deployed hundreds of millions of cameras equipped with facial recognition technology, capable of tracking individuals' movement in real time. In 2021, the BBC reported that some Chinese city has over 10 civilian cameras per 1,000 people, far surpassing other countries. Additionally, the social credit system takes surveillance to the new high. The system's assign credit score based on the citizen's behavior, such as traffic violation or social media activity. Those with no score may be barred from the purchase of high-speed train or airplane ticket, or enter certain professions such as mechanism not only invade personal privacy, but also compel citizens to self-censor and conform to government expectation through punitive measure. Persecution of political dissidents. The persecution of political dissidents is another stark example of the Chinese government's oppression. Anyone who challenges the CCP's authorities risks severe punishment. Human rights lawyers, scholars, and activists are often arrested on a vague charges like subversion of state power, or picking quarrel and provoking trouble. For example, the 709 crackdown in the 2015 saw hundreds of human rights lawyers and their family detained, with many subjected to torture or prolonged imprisonment. Dissidents also face house arrest, forced disappearance, or detention in secret facility. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Liu Xiaobo was sentenced to 11 years in prison for drafting Charter OA, which called for democratic reforms, and died in custody due to illness. Those cases demonstrate the government's zero-tolerance policy toward dissent, denying citizens their right to political participation, systematic prosecution of ethnic minority. The Chinese government's oppression of ethnic minority is particularly severe, especially in Xinjiang, in Tibet. In Xinjiang, Uyghur and other Muslim minorities face systematic prosecution. According to reports from the United Nations and the Human Rights Organization, over 1 million Uyghurs have been detained in so-called re-education camps since 2017, whether endure forced labor, cultural assimilation, torture, and even sexual violence. The Chinese government describes those camps as a vocational training center, but extensive evidence reveals their purpose is to eradicate Uyghur culture and religious identity. In Tibet, Tibetans' religious freedom and cultural expression are similar curtailed. Monasteries are monitored. Tibet Buddhist leaders like the Dalai Lama are vilified, and Tibetan language education is marginalized. Protests are often violated, suppressed, and self-incriminations are frequent. Those policies not only violate the basic human rights of ethnic minority, but also expose the government's hostility toward cultural diversity. Economic and social control. The Chinese government also oppresses people through economic and social policy. While economic reforms have spurred growth, the rights of ordinary citizens are often disregarded. Farmers lose their land to forced demolitions with inadequate compensation, while workers face harsh conditions and independent labor unions are banned. In 2021, the International Labour Organization reported incidents of forced labor in China, particularly in Xinjiang's cotton and textile industry. Furthermore, hukou household registrations system restrict royal resident access to equal education, healthcare, and job opportunities in cities, perpetuate social inequality. During the pandemic, a extreme lockdown measure left residents without access to basic necessities, supplying widespread discontent. This measure revealed that the government often prioritizes stability and economic growth at the expense of the public welfare. Conclusion: the Chinese government's oppression of its people is complex and pervasive issues, spanning free speech, privacy, political participation, ethnic minority rights, and economic fairness. So stringent censorship, surveillance, persecution, and discriminatory policy, the government curtailed basic freedoms, stifling the vitality and the creativity of society. This oppression not only undermines individuals' dignity, but also hindering China's potential as a truly open and inclusive society. Yet, amidst the oppressions, countless courageous citizens continue to resist through protests, documenting truth, and seeking international support. The global community must also exert diplomatic pressure, impose sanctions, and engage in human rights dialogues to hold the Chinese government accountable. Only through internal reform and external oversight can the Chinese people break free from the shackles of oppression and embrace a future of great freedom and justice. Thank you so much.